We're here with Joe Hyan, the president of Inspira Technologies, joining us in the studio today from Israel, one of the birthplaces of some of the finest technologies, disruptive technologies in the world, which we think you have. So welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to spend this week with Joe in New York City at the Think Equity Conference, and we met some great people, and I was blessed with the opportunity to hear you tell us a wonderful story that I expect will change the world.
Thank you very much. I think, being in New York was a real experience. We must remember that during COVID-19, this is a city with a large population that was strongly impacted by COVID-19. It's a city that understands how invasive mechanical ventilation eventually provided a very poor outcome for thousands that suffered from COVID. And they understand the risks and the complications, and unfortunately, the poor mortality rates that the state and the city suffered.
No, it's a very difficult position that I think the medical community was put in because this was novel. I love the way you position it, I guess is the way to put it, how you need a sort of an in-between from just getting some basic oxygen, helping to get those oxygen levels up in the blood with the mask. That's not working. Okay, well, let's get to ventilation, and you have to maintain a coma and all these things. Why don't you share a little bit about that process of how you expect to be the in-between, the option that can maybe prevent the death?
So the solution that we're providing and we're proposing, we are taking care and providing a solution for the respiratory gap. We believe that Inspira, with the Inspira Art, has the potential to become the new standard of care. Now, there's always been this thought that if an organ is sick, you need to replace it. And this is exactly what invasive mechanical ventilation does. The doctors will always come, shut down the patient, shut down their lungs, place them in a coma, intubate them, and try to take care of the underlying medical problem, while the machine, the mechanical ventilator, is taking over the physiological breathing side. Now, what happens when a patient's in a coma is that often, if there are complications brought on by the mechanical ventilator, it only further extends their time in the hospital and the time that they're in a coma. And I just want to emphasize that a lot of these complications are called ventilator something. So if you have a complication from the intubation process and there's a buildup of bacteria, it's called ventilator-associated pneumonia. And if you are, for some reason, the lungs are being overinflated, it's called ventilator-induced lung injury. Now, this may happen in 1 in 9, 1 in 4, depending what the complication is. But the fact that the medical community calls this ventilator-associated or ventilator-induced medical condition, it only further just emphasizes that everybody knows that the machine, the mechanical ventilator, the invasive mechanical ventilator, is maybe sometimes needed as life support, but it's also the core problem or the instigator and actually adding a lot more risk in many cases. And that's why we have a 50% mortality rate. We have a 40% readmission rate. Now, what we're doing is that we're saying, hold on, if a patient's been administered with some type of oxygen supplement and it's not working, and this is a very common situation. In about 50% of the situations, basic first stage oxygen supplements just are not enough. And the doctor has this dilemma of whether they should proceed and place the patient in a coma. And the reason it's such a big dilemma is because they understand that 50% of the patients don't make it. They realize that there are so many complications. There's readmission, there are risks, and they are unfortunately placed in a very difficult situation of almost playing God. Now, what we're providing is a new opportunity to take a patient, to leave them awake, have them hopefully communicative, let the lungs continue to function. But as opposed of shutting down and further battering the lungs, we talk about bypassing the lungs and going directly into the blood, into the vein. And therefore, we would insert a cannula into the vein. We would remove a very small quantity of blood. We would directly oxygenate that blood and return that oxygenated blood back into the body, and therefore supporting the lung to boost the oxygen saturation levels in just minutes. And this is the difference between replacing a vital organ, but rather support that organ and maybe indirectly help it heal and give the doctors a much better chance and window of opportunity to take care of the underlying medical problem and get that patient back home safely.
Yeah, I imagine when I first was able to see in person, hear your story, it made me just wish this were the future, 1.5 years down the line, and this option was available. Or is that about a fair estimate of potential getting through those examinations with the regulators in the United States, the FDA?
So the ART is a new technology. It's designed to be a new standard of care. So this means that we are continuing with the development process, and we have two goals in mind. One, to provide a value proposition to be able to treat the patient at an early stage while they're awake and without shutting down the lungs. And we're working on the development towards attaining that goal. The second value proposition is the ability to provide a product which is affordable, accessible, and less dependent on ICU level of care. In other words, it would less rely on the different types of disciplinaries and infrastructure in the ICU, with the hope that one day we would be able to migrate the system outside the ICU, potentially into general medical units, smaller hospitals. And we need to understand why this is so important. Today, there are millions of people every year, about 20 million every year, that are placed on invasive mechanical ventilation. Now, 94% of high-end ICUs are in the metropolitan areas around the world. But only 50% of the population lives in a metropolitan. So basically what that actually means is that 50% of the world population only has access to 6% of the ICUs. So that means that many people don't really have true accessibility to life-saving or very important treatments. And this needs to be changed. People need to have an equal opportunity to medical treatment in time of need.
Yeah, it's a lofty goal, and I have very high aspirations for you as well. And I know you've developed some very interesting technologies to also bridge that gap, to help the investors sort of through a staging of the growth of this company. And you've got some interim products that are a little less technically challenging, let's say, and that will help give extremely important information to the doctors so that they can do the best job possible. Why don't you tell us about that platform a little bit more, if you may?
So if you look at Inspira, Inspira started its pathway developing the Inspira Art, the same unique system designed to prevent the need for invasive mechanical ventilation. And this will be our flagship model. It's designed to impact the respiratory care industry. I think it's going to be a type of a solution that comes around once in a generation. And I think hopefully you will be able to, we'll all be able to, our families will enjoy the fruits of this new technology. Now, as we go through this process and building a new standard of care, we are working towards sharing with the market additional technologies or core technologies with the market, using the same technologies or elements in additional products. And so, for example, we have developed a cardio bypass machine, a type of ECMO. When it comes to intent of use, we call this the Alice. Now, this system is extremely unique because it actually allows us to penetrate the ECMO market very shortly. So already next year, we have a system that we have built, and we will be submitting it. We'll continue to finalize it, get to product freeze, go to verification and validation, and therefore submit it to the FDA, potentially under a Class 2 510(k). And what does that mean? That will be an indication to the market that Inspira has the technical know-how to bring an advanced medical device to the market within a very short period of time. And this will basically give you an indication of what's to come. And so we will expect potentially in 2024 already to be in a situation to be able to deploy.
Wow.
The system, hopefully, should we meet FDA requirements based on the normal periods that it takes to clear a product. So what this is going to do is actually position us in a situation where only the biggest companies are. Very, very few medical device companies, and I'm talking about the huge multi-billion-dollar corporations, have ECMO capabilities or cardiopulmonary bypass capabilities. Very few of them have FDA approval. So you can understand where that's going to position us as a market leader or growing into that position. Now, by the way, this system has parts inside that are actually generated from our unique Inspira Art. So we're actually taking our developments and using it for additional applications. Now, another very unique component or system that was designed for the Inspira is a blood sensor. And this blood sensor is designed to be able to monitor or measure blood flowing through a tube. So it's a non-invasive blood sensor, and it is designed or being designed to perform real-time and continuous blood measurements with the goal to indicate or alert physicians of sudden changes in the patient's blood parameters at any given time. So this will allow them to be proactive and provide early medical treatment. Now, why is this important? Normally, when a person's in an ICU, they may receive or undergo blood tests every 4 hours, maybe even longer. And during these gaps, these periods, they may develop some type of complication. So the saturation level or other indicators may be within the tolerance level, but there may be things happening within the body that can only be identified through a blood test. So imagine a patient obviously deteriorating and being able to tell the doctor at real time that something's happening and give an opportunity to provide almost immediate response. If we look at the basic statistics of what happens for patients in the ICU, you'll see that by about the second day, they start to suffer from anemia. By the third or fourth day, they may need blood transfusions. These are folks that are in critical condition. As it is, when you take a blood test, sometimes you have to take quite a quantity, and if you're doing tests several times a day, it takes its toll. Often patients that have acute medical problems, as it is, their blood may not be, they may have problems, or the different indexes may be inferior as it is, or compromised. So to further go and take more blood, and you're basically just putting more burden or adding more risk. And this is why what we're doing and what we're targeting is very unique. It eliminates these concerns to a certain level, and it's designed to provide real-time data to the doctors and hopefully reduce complications. And there's another element here. The cost of treatment is very high. And if we could provide a system that has a very low cost based on disposables, which has a really, I would say, symbolic cost, it has the potential to prevent complications that can cost tens of thousands of dollars per event. Now, we've taken this technology based on the recommendation of our scientific advisory board. Leading doctors from around the world have basically indicated to Inspira that they believe that this should be an individual product. And therefore, we took the pathway of taking this device and launching or revealing the Hyla that's been exposed to the market as a non-invasive optical sensor or blood sensor designed to perform real-time and continuous studies. And we will continue to work on this product and expand its capabilities. And we believe that this will also reach the market within a respectable time. We have already spoken about the product going through our first levels of human studies at a leading hospital around the world. And this obviously will be followed by additional upgrades and eventually FDA approval. So you can see that Inspira is actually growing and has the potential to grow into a respiratory care powerhouse with additional elements of patient monitoring, something which is extremely unique in a market that lacks or doesn't really have a market leader. So we're not only penetrating a very strong market, we plan to lead the trends and bring new technologies that will only benefit both the patient, the reduced staff burden, and of course, benefit the hospitals, and of course, improve reimbursement. Because the cost of treating patients that have respiratory failure costs hundreds of billions of dollars to economies.
You've done a good job. You've been recognized by the markets. I think investors love to see that velocity of shares. It shows the interest is clearly there. It helped you capitalize strong and give yourself a, let's say, more than 18-month window of delivering on those milestones. So congratulations on that. And maybe you could bring it home for the investors today. What's the true value? I know it goes beyond the dollars and cents, right?
Right.
The human value that you're looking to add, the emotional comfort you can bring to a patient and a doctor who has to make tough decisions. wants to have the top information possible from the blood, wants to have the ability not to go from, okay, the oxygen mask doesn't work, now we're going to life support. So bring it home, maybe just a little quick summation.
We're a company, we've been around since 2018. I think you can look at what we've achieved in the last 4 years. I think that speaks for itself. As I said, we've decided to go into a very important strategic development process of products that are extremely in high need for the human population, for the world. It's a big challenge, but we work towards it and we push and we obviously report on our progress. I think the market today understands, both the market and both the medical industry, they understand the value proposition that we want to provide the market with our unique products. They understand how this could impact. We're talking about extremely high impact products to the medical world, and they also understand that not only we're talking about potentially superior technologies and capabilities, but we're talking about reshaping the medical or respiratory care industry. We're talking about providing solutions that will be accessible, affordable, available to millions in different areas where they don't really have that much access. So it's not only about potentially a better standard of care, but also accessibility. And for us, this is everything. We really want, and I think the market understands, and if I may just say, I think the medical industry, the future competition of Inspira, in my opinion, and this is my personal opinion, has already understood that there's a company in Israel that is pushing to provide a new technology and a new solution that they don't have. And they are starting, in my opinion, to notice this. And the reason that I think that they are noticing this is because it is a huge market. And none of the medical device companies are actually very dominant in the space. And they know that should we succeed, or when we will succeed with these new capabilities, this is going to reshape the market landscape. And I think you guys, everybody at home and in the industry, understands what impact this is going to have on the patients, on the doctors, and what is this is going to have on the industry at itself. And so it's either you work with us or you fall behind. That is the potential risk that they may face on the day that we succeed to bring these products to market.
I love to hear that. And I know you are disrupting tens of billions annual company as new ventilators are brought on board to help address.
Several of them.
Yeah, I imagine. So that is exciting. And for me personally, it's been an honor to just spend some time and watch you speak to analysts and funds that are taking interest and handle the fire, the hard questions. You know, it's been awesome for me. So, Joe, I look forward to results. I look forward to seeing those milestones, and we're excited at RedChip to be a part of that. It's game changing.
Thank you very much. We very much enjoy working with RedChip. We see RedChip as a strategic partner in creating awareness in the market. I think we've created some amazing opportunities for the company, and we are getting the message out there. People are understanding the magnitude of what we are doing, the impact on the market, the impact on the future respiratory care arena. And as we move forward, we will hopefully progress, report this to the market, expand awareness, and eventually provide a new standard of care to millions and millions and millions of patients in need and that have a right to a more optimistic future should they be impacted or be sick with some type of respiratory care infection or disease. Our success will bring hope to millions around the world. So I really thank you. I thank you, RedChip, and I thank all the employees of our company that are working night and day towards developing our technologies and bringing these amazing products to the market.
Excellent, Joe. I know our audiences and the doctors that are going to be impacted are going to thank you one day.
Thank you very much.